Hi everyone, here is my roundup for February 2026. Let's start off with what happened in January with Belgium and also Croatia. So Belgium went live with their mandate on the 1st of January, and by all accounts it has gone really very well. So right now there are well over 1 million registrants on Peppol who are transacting in Belgium. This is a country record, and no other country worldwide comes close to the numbers that we're seeing, and those numbers happen pretty quickly. So just to remind you, this is a Peppol-based mandate, big bang mandate, and there's a grace period in Belgium, which means you've got up until the 31st of March to have a little bit of a cushion, not much of a cushion. You still need to prove that technically you've done everything that you can to be compliant with the mandate, but there's something technically wrong that's preventing you from being compliant. And if you're within that 3-month grace period, then you won't be hit with penalties. Once you're outside that 3-month period, 31st of March, you're hit with penalties, and those penalties are not insignificant. Let's talk about Croatia. Croatia went live as well on the 1st of January, and this particular mandate was a little less time in the making. The legislation was approved, it was June 2025, and so really only about a six month kind of warm up, if you will, between legislation to going live. Again, by all accounts, it seems to be going smoothly. So what we've got here is that numbers 2 weeks in were reporting that about 1.66 million invoices were being transacted electronically, and there are about 300,000 taxpayers who were signed up and using the system by the 13th of January. So generally a thumbs up for Croatia and their B2B mandate. Interestingly, they've an updated VAT gap report's just come out on the EU, and it will tell you countries that have a reduced VAT gap and those where the VAT gap is increasing. Croatia is actually seeing their VAT gap reduce from about 11.4% to 7.7%, and all these this B2B mandate that's gone live will clearly help Croatia. Let's have a look at Poland. Poland also was a mandate that everyone was quite keen to kind of see and watch move into go live. So it went live on Sunday the 1st of February. It was a Sunday, but in that first day, about 50,000 electronic invoices on day one. It was a Sunday. General kind of consensus is from the authorities is that it's gone smoothly, and everything's stable as it should be and in line with adopted assumptions. This was what the Poland's Deputy Finance Minister said. So the first wave affects about 4,200 companies, and then the second wave kicks in on the 1st of April. Let's have a look at Greece. So Greece went live with its mandate, and that was the 2nd of Feb. So just a day later. Large residence businesses with a turnover of €1 million or more as of filings or based on filings from 2023. And there's a little bit of a soft landing for companies in Greece insofar as traditional methods of invoicing may be used in parallel with electronic invoicing, so long as you have a declaration of commencement of e-invoicing, you've submitted that. So you've got your absolute deadline is the end of March, and by that time you need to say goodbye to traditional methods of invoicing. The final phase for Greece is for the next wave is the 1st of October, and that will be bringing in all other tax-paying organisations. There are tax incentives for early adopters. Let's talk about Oman. So Oman became a Peppol authority. Congratulations, Oman. And that was in January. So this is to help with their mandate, which is being piloted in August. It's going to include 100 of the largest taxpayers in Oman. It's a Peppol-aligned 5-corner model that they're going to be using there. So they're going to be using accredited access points, and the accredited service providers will start to be accredited. The service providers will start to be accredited in May. So that's the date that I've got for that. Formal accreditation of Peppol access points is scheduled to begin in May 2026. Uzbekistan is an interesting case study for every single country deploying electronic invoicing mandates, B2B electronic invoicing mandates. Reason being the following. So Uzbekistan has been live with B2B, B2C, B2G electronic invoicing since 2020. So quite a good history there, coming up to 6 years, and a broad scope. And they are now moving into next level. So what does that mean? What does it look like? They are establishing a risk assessment system. So the authorities there are establishing a risk assessment system where they are risk scoring invoices. And it sounds like a relatively simple kind of scoring system, but highly effective. So red, high risk, green, normal can proceed as normal. It's a pilot phase at the moment. I understand it's a pilot phase for about 12 months. So no consequences for red invoices today. That's my understanding. But then once it's out of the pilot phase, there will be a consequence for red transactions, red invoices. It's very interesting because it's that next level beyond or above electronic invoicing, and it's like embedding automated risk assessment into mandated e-invoicing flows. So it's really tooling up governments, the authority here in Uzbekistan, tooling them up so they can scrutinise transactions at a much deeper level and intervene appropriately. So for anyone thinking that, get electronic invoicing in place and that's it, it's not. Electronic invoicing, e-invoicing mandates, e-reporting mandates are really just the foundation, and then governments will be building on top of that with all kinds of capabilities. So watch this space. Let's have a look at what's been happening across Africa. So in Africa, there are a number of countries that are already very established with e-invoicing, B2B invoicing mandates. So those are countries like Ghana, Kenya, Egypt, Rwanda. They're already live. But as of January this year, Tunisia extended its scope. Nigeria had its second wave effective January this year, and 𝗙𝗲𝗏 has gone live with its e-invoicing program as well. Later in 2026, we will see another 5 or so countries go live in Africa. Malawi, Gambia, Morocco, Cameroon, and Burkina Faso. Those countries are due to go live. And then Algeria, the mandate there has slipped, likely now to be 2027. And South Africa announced quite recently that it's looking to go live in 2028. Let's have a look at France. Now, France goes live with its B2B mandate in September. And what it's doing very soon, so in about 10 days' time, it's launching its live pilot of the whole ecosystem. So this is pretty exciting. It's going to be testing all the connections and the technology with live real data, and seeing how the whole kind of infrastructure holds up. It's unusual insofar as it is the largest, the first large-scale test of a national B2B e-invoicing and e-reporting framework in Europe with live data. So that's the big one here. So hopefully that all goes well for all the service providers that are tuning in for this roundup. Let's talk about Peppol for a moment. So Peppol came out recently to say that as of 2027, they're going to be requiring a ISO 27001, and this means that they are going to be asking all service providers that it works with to meet certain criteria when it comes to security. At the moment, the service providers that work with Peppol and then go on to become access points with Peppol, they actually have varying degrees of security. There is not one standard across all, however many, 600 or so of them, I believe. And this change now, this announcement, it means that there will be one standard for security, which I think some experts are saying, thank goodness, this has been a long time coming, very welcome news, and quite frankly, some say a little bit overdue. Very positive for users, because it makes the framework, you could say, is as strong as its weakest link. And so if everyone's adhering to a certain standard, then that's a very good thing. I mentioned when I was talking about Croatia that the VAT gap in Europe, a VAT gap's come out, a VAT gap report, and a VAT gap report has come out about what's happening in the EU, and the VAT gap is actually getting larger. So based on 2022 figures, the gap was about 101 billion euros a year, and that's actually increased by 27 billion. It's now, as of 2023, the 2023 numbers, it's 128 billion euros a year. That's the VAT gap. So this is an impetus for countries in the EU, quite frankly, just to get on with their B2B mandates. Countries where the VAT gaps have increased, Estonia, Ireland, Latvia, Poland, and countries that saw their VAT gaps reduce, Croatia, I mentioned earlier, Cyprus, the Netherlands, and Slovenia. And finally, the OECD has published a landmark report, and this report details, it's a blueprint and detailing what a mandate might look like for countries that are thinking about B2B mandates but haven't actually started to put one together. And it focuses on 6 core areas. So these core areas will include e-invoicing and CTC architecture, interoperability, and long-term sustainability. The idea of this paper, or one of the kind of goals of this paper, is to reduce fragmentation. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the roundup, and I will be in touch very soon with more news. All the best. Thank you.